Welcome to the Four Rooms podcast, where we explore the four rooms of entrepreneurship: health, wealth, scale, and relationships. Each episode is dedicated to opening new doors and uncovering insights that empower you to design your entrepreneurial journey to be both lucrative and fulfilling. And now, your hosts, Amber Spears and Brett Kaufman.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Four Rooms podcast. My name is Brett. I'm the host, and I am here with a dear friend of mine, Raanan. Raanan, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be here. I appreciate you extending the invite, and I'm just excited to chat anything I can with you today.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing. We got a lot of goodies to get into, but I want some people to know more about what you do. So obviously, you're a great representation of Kindago, a long-term growth partner with a lot of your brands. For those that don't really know what that means, can you break it down exactly what Kindago does and how they help people?
Yeah, for sure. So we've been around for over 17 years. We're really leading the wave in terms of paid media, especially in the VSL or video sales letter space, direct response, and then a lot in the e-commerce. But what's different and unique about us is that we are a long-term growth partner, meaning that we're not a typical agency. We don't have a monthly retainer. We don't have a sign-up fee. We're really performance-based. And what we do is different for partners. You know, we brought into a number of our clients celebrity spokespeople in the last few years, which has been really transformative, but also we'll bring people to new markets. Maybe they need some optimizations on the page. Maybe there's something with the campaign that needs some help with our CRO. There's a lot of different additional things that we do for our clients beyond just running the media, beyond just creating ads. It's really a long-term collaboration. And we work to basically not just number one, have acquisition, but really long-term growth of the brand, meaning that if it's dominating in the US and it's really crushing, maybe there's an opportunity with Spanish market or Latin America. Maybe there's something that's working really well on Meta, but we need to take them to Snapchat or TikTok. There's a lot of different ways to kind of move a partner or a vendor around depending on where the growth opportunities are. And that's kind of where we come in, is that on top of buying the traffic, on top of scaling campaigns, we're really there to help the vendor grow because that makes us look good. We don't have long-term contracts that lock people in. We're really, our clients are there with us by choice. So it's important for us to do anything we can to basically make them more successful, which just grows the relationship. And that's why most of our clients we're working with upwards of 7 years.
Wow. And that's huge because we were talking about this before we got started. And the term, because I like how you said, we're not an agency, right? Which is great because a lot of people might hear that, be like, are you that? An agency has been dragged down because there's a lot of bad actors in the space. And the fact that you all have no sign-up fee and you're very, very much performance-based. And it's like, all right, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and therefore builds a lot of trust. So it makes sense why y'all are killing the game.
For sure. And, to be fair, not every campaign works for us. We say no to a lot of things, but we tend to take things that we feel the most confident that we can build, because part of when I do an audit and the board and all of us take a look at what the campaign is in front of us and what we can do with it, one of the most deciding factors in whether we onboard something is this something we feel confident we could be running in a year? It's not about the short-term solution. If I can make a lot of money with you in 6 months versus a small chunk of change over the next 5 years, we'll choose the next 5 years. It's really about, I don't know a lot of companies that can say that they've been around for over 17 years and have never had one ad account banned, shut down, or restricted. There's a lot of daily work that goes into kind of keeping us where we're at, but the most important thing is making our clients happy, basically.
You're good at that. And I also want to tap into a superpower that you have because with what you do, you bring, at least from my knowledge, you correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like a lot of clients you personally bring in are from in-person events. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
I think the in-person events are a big part of it. I wouldn't say it's just that sometimes meeting in person and having that direct relationship is what grows, but it's really the relationships over time that sometimes come through an online introduction through someone you met a year ago at a show or something like this. So it's definitely boots on the ground, I'd say, in terms of conferences, in terms of just extending the network, which inevitably is what brings more offers and more things our way.
Yeah, and a lot of people, including myself, who identify as on the more extrovert side, I can get intimidated by being like, oh, another room I need to go in or I need to meet people. And you just make it look so effortlessly with your ability to connect with people. Was this something you were like born with? You developed over time? What's the background on that?
I mean, I think I've always been pretty good with relationships. I think one of the things that really kind of captivated me by the direct response space is that I always did sales. I always did biz dev. In a prior life, I'm a gemologist, so I come from the jewelry world and did that for a little over a decade. I never knew that you could really infuse like a deep personal connection into the sales process or into the networking. Even though I would have clients who I knew everything about their lives, they didn't know anything about mine.
Yeah.
And when I got into direct response, the thing that really got me excited was that there was almost a defining responsibility that you have to connect with people on a personal level. And I think that in many ways that really propelled my career in a lot of ways because infusing that personal, you get deeper connection, you get to build more loyalty, you get to build more of a relationship, which I think is what goes into people wanting to help other people, wanting to share. I'll do a lot of introductions and a lot of kind of like helping people put deals together just with friends in the space and people I connect with because it's how my brain operates and what it does. But a lot of people will say, "What can I do for you?" And I say, when you know of a nice, clean branded campaign that's doing something on paid media, bring it to me. And it's not transactional. So sometimes it's someone I spoke to a year ago that hears of something and brings it. But because I connected on a personal level, because I maybe help them with something that, we don't offer. Like, for example, we don't touch the email space. So I have a number of like great people like yourself that I can always refer people to in terms of email and get them set up. But it's not something that like I hang my business on. It's not something that Condago hangs their business on. So even though we don't do it, by helping someone on the email side or helping with something outside the box, it oftentimes brings me things that are very relevant.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
A
That's
100%.
And what I love is like whether it's a conscious thing or not conscious thing, you're like leading with value. And then like you said, it just comes back to you, which is awesome. One of the things that I go to like at least 5 events a week in Miami, different like business and just connection based stuff. And I start meeting, I don't know, it could sometimes be up to 20 to 50 people, new contacts a week. And something that I could get better at is follow up. And you go to so many events, and yet I feel like you're such incredible at keeping the relationships going. Can you walk me through like what your follow up process is, how you remember key piece of information of people in order to stay in touch with them?
So first of all, I'm a bit of a crazy person when it comes to how I work and how many things I kind of multitask. So I don't necessarily, put this out like everyone should be doing this, but I'm very OCD and like to keep track of things. So like
Yeah.
I have a bit of a reputation for taking pictures with people. A big part of that is because I'm a visual thinker and I see things I remember faces and I remember from there. Sometimes if I'm talking to someone for 6 months on Skype, and we meet in person, I don't like lock in on their face right away. It takes a minute. Versus if we met in person, I'm not going to forget. And especially if there's proof of it with a picture, that helps a lot. So, people see me taking pictures, but a lot of those pictures are tied to people that I'm having like a 2 hour chat or connection with. And for me, I take notes of things. If you and I sit down for an hour together at a show and we have a really deeply personal connection and conversation, and let's say no business is discussed, but I think you're a great guy and I want to get to know you better, and maybe that's going to lead to business, maybe it's not, but it's also we're in the same industry. You're another warm face I'm going to see when I come in. I like that. I'm going to take notes of like key things that you told me about your life that you dropped out because number one, if we're building a relationship, it's important for me to remember that. Number two, in the course of a day or an event, you could be talking to over 100 people. There's so many things that go on, and I'll be fully present in a conversation, but I'll be honest, you and I could have the best conversation. And then the next conversation is like the biggest KPI I had for the event for Condago. It's not that I'm going to lose your conversation, but it might brush off my mind. So taking those notes, having that documentation of what's going on throughout the week it keeps me kind of like with it, so to speak. And I just keep following up. I would say there are many people who I connect with at a show, take pictures, go in deep, and then they completely ghost me after. And that's going to happen. It's like an email list. Some things are going to drop off. You can't expect that every amazing conversation is going to go somewhere. That's always my intentions. There's no guarantee, but then there are many conversations I'll have with people, and I will follow up as many times as I can, and the relationship will build deeper. And there are often times where I meet someone at an event in August, and then like 6 months later, someone else who was at the event sees a picture of me with that person, and they're like, "Oh, you still talk to them?" I'm like, "We spent a whole day at a festival together. Like, yeah, I still talk to them." It's to me, if there's a nice connection, whether it's business, personal, there's always a reason to follow up, in my opinion, if the connection is there, because a lot of times I meet people who work at, let's say, a rival company, or they work for, let's say, a B2B agency that has no, let's say, direct relevance to what I'm doing. But a lot of times those people end up introducing me to a client, introduce me to something special, something exciting. So I try to just keep an open mind also when I'm talking to people. I'm not transactional about anything.
So for the analytical people out there, because like one of my struggles is the actual organization of everything. Because like similar like you, I love you do the photos thing. I also do something similar. And then I like to take notes in either let's say I'm right after conversations in the notes section of my phone. I've seen people pull up an Excel doc and have it super organized of like name, where you met, like key facts. So do you have like a process of what you try to look for to write down and how you actually like where you store it?
Well, so this is really basic, but I keep a lot of notes in my iPhone. So I have notes and I date them by day. And then when I take pictures, I'll add the pictures in just to give context. And I put down whatever context I need. Like if there's something drop down, it could be someone like I just had a call earlier today with a really interesting woman that I met at a mastermind who has a SaaS product that literally has no relevance to anything I'm doing business wise. But we hit it off at this mastermind, really got along, and then I found out that she's connected to a number of vendors that I'm looking to get in touch with.
Amazing.
And so it just worked really well, but we just connected at this event. I knew she had this SaaS product. I knew to, mention it and discuss it and learn more about it when we had the call. And I put all these things in. I know how other people sometimes operate in this space. If you are, let's say, a vendor looking for affiliates, if you meet someone with a SaaS product that isn't directly related to your business, you might throw that card away. You might not follow up. There might be other things in
Yeah.
there. I see every opportunity as an opportunity. So I keep an active list in terms of in my notes. I take the pictures, anything I can do for context. Even throughout the week, I might have a conversation with you on Monday, but on Wednesday, someone drops something out that's relevant to you or related to you. I continue to update and keep like a running score in terms of notes. And generally, I'd say within like 48 hours of the end of a conference, I submit a report to Kindago that lists out every conversation I had essentially and what's going on. So that keeps me very organized. And then I do a number of things on top of that. So like I add things into our internal CRM through Monday, keeping notes on everything, but I also start setting up calendar notifications in my calendar. I know, for instance, that if we just spent time together at Club 24, but you're going in a week and a half to Dubai, that even though I can check in, it's probably not the right time for a proper follow-up because your brain is all over the place because you're about to travel on the other side of the world. And I get those things. So I try to be really thoughtful and intentional with how I follow up and when I follow up.
I love that the calendar invite because for me, I do like follow up Fridays and just set some time and just like, hey, I know these are the key people I need to check in with. I also found I do that with my friends too, and it was nice because yesterday someone posted something because it was on my birthday, and they were like, "I love your random check-in calls." And to them, it's random. To me, it's not random. Like my close friends are scheduled, where it's like I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks. I'm gonna give you a call and be like, "How are you doing?" To them, it's random, and I think it's I love that. But I love the idea of doing calendar invites because I think it might be easier. Because sometimes when I even have it organized, and in my case, it's an Excel doc, things fall through the cracks. But putting on a calendar, that's a very smart idea. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I really try to. I honestly add things into my calendar all the time to keep me on task with things. Like I normally, when I'm working from home, I have a notebook by my side and I'm writing down like throughout the day, like raw with a pen, exactly just different things that I need to accomplish during the day. And I kind of have a running list that I go through. And so like I like to write things down both on the computer, on my phone, on paper. Like it keeps it top of mind and it keeps things going. But realistically, I try to follow up also with people and check in as much as I can. Like it's just one of those things. Shooting out a message doesn't cost anything. And it's easy enough. I mean, there's definitely people that maybe I talk to more often than others, just as things kind of like fall and how it is. But for the most part, I really try to stay as engaged as I can when I have a connection with people because I like to make friends, I like to connect, but also in this industry, especially if you make the right friends, they can be super valuable to you. You know, I have some people that I'm really close with, but let's say like very powerful vendors and people in the space who I know at a moment's notice I can write them with a question about something or help with something, and they immediately get back to me, and it drives the train a lot. It brings a lot of things to the table, and I value that. And again, just circling back, it came down to like personal connection and follow up.
And that's what I think a lot of people miss. They're always like, "Hi, here's what I do. What do you do?" Like from the beginning. And I get that. Like it's important because you don't want to waste time. But like you said, you have no idea that person you're having a conversation with about nothing business wise turns out to be your best connection down the road. So I love that you lead with that.
Well, to be fair, I do kind of one of my opening things that I always say people is like, "Hi, I'm Raanan. What do you do?" Because I like to have an idea and it kind of sometimes sets up the stage a little bit. It also gives me an opportunity to throw out a little bit about Kindago because I'm always thinking branding and I want it
Yeah.
out there. So it makes sense. But exactly like you said, a lot of times it's not. If I start talking to a new vendor in the space who has a product that wouldn't work, for instance, for us. Let's say it's something really aggressive that just isn't, we're running much more clean branded things. If I know that off the bat, and let's say he's a new vendor who, is really trying to figure out the way how to do things and needs a lot of help, and he's not, let's say, at the stage or the place for Kindago, and maybe in the future it's never going to happen. Then I might share, some certain things about the company and talk to him a little bit about paid media, but like I'm also not going to talk his ear off on Kindago if I know that it's not something that's going to mean a lot to him and it's not something that's really going to go anywhere. But we might have a personal connection that helps. I also know certain things just from being in this space for a long time. I originally came from the email side, I came from the affiliate management side, and I know some people. So there might be a conversation where I'm able to help. I'm big on connection.
Yeah. One of my favorite questions to ask early on in the conversation, because I love communication flow. I don't know if you know this part of my story, but when I came back from Israel the first time, no, sorry, second time after living there for a year, I got quite depressed because there was a big culture shock and I actually lost my ability to speak for a little bit. And so I could like mumble, but that was basically it. So I walked around with a notebook and write down what I'd want to say and show it to people. And then eventually, thank God, like I retrained myself. But a big thing was trying to get myself to talk again, was trying to get to bring the energy out of them because it brought the energy back in me. So I started asking people like, what's something that happened to you this week that like you're so excited about, or something that's upcoming in this month that you're looking forward to. And I find so often at the conferences, business stuff comes out of their mouth, which is such an easy transition to what we do without me always being like, here's what I do, here's how I can help you. And so that question's been a game changer for me.
I agree. I think also, especially the nature of direct response, so many of these vendors and so many of these people have personal connections as to why they do what they do. You have a lot of vendors who have products that are that are specifically catered towards an ailment that they've worked through over something that they're dealing with. And so there's a personal touch too. So sometimes when you ask someone like what they're excited about and it turns to business, it's actually not so like clear that it's just business. This might be like their life's passion, their life's work. There's things like that. So I think it's really such an interesting space that we get to work in. Like it's such a cool kind of like collection of people and different kind of like leaders in the space that are all doing different things, and they don't look like the typical leaders in other industries, which I really enjoy.
It makes for the conversation to be super unique and not boring, which is awesome. And I would love to ask you because like you know better than so many people about like the power of being in the right rooms, hence how often you are networking and whatnot. When you are looking to spend your time at places, how do you know that this event or this mastermind is a good ROI for you? What do you look for?
I mean, I'm always looking at a list, to be honest. First, I want to know who's going to be there just because I am always looking for new vendors that are going to work well for us. Like, that's always kind of I want to see someone that's doing a nice, clean branded campaign that has a little bit of success on paid media that we can like soar to the skies. Like my top 10 campaigns are all doing over 2,000 sales a day stably. So, like, I know we have the heat to really put behind something, but at the same time, there's no guarantee walking into an event. Sometimes it's going off your gut. Sometimes it's, seeing where things are. A lot of times it depends on who's putting together the event. Like, I mean, not to like jump too quick into this, but like, let's take like forums for example, or take Amber. Like, Amber's arguably one of the best connectors in the space, and she's someone who has a huge roster portfolio of people in her network that trust her, that come to her with things, and she knows how to put people into a room. I know with forums that she spends so much time tirelessly figuring out like who's going to be at what tables to make sure that there's value for everyone. I think an event like that obviously is going to give you some nice ROI because it doesn't always, at least in terms of our business, it doesn't always have to be attached to just finding a winning campaign tomorrow. Sometimes it's meeting the right person who can bring you campaigns in the future. Sometimes it's meeting someone who can be a great partner. And I'll tell you that any room I've been in that Amber has put together or developed, there's always a diamond in the rough just waiting for you there. And that's a little bit more what I look for when I'm going to events. I look at, of course, I go to a lot of the big events that everybody goes to, like the Affiliate Worlds and all of these different conferences, and they're great. And a lot of times, great things come from it. But there are certain events that can be really special, like any invite-only events from any of the networks, like Meta, Google, YouTube, like these are all Snapchat, like these can be major, major vehicles for business, which is great. But similarly, I think anything Amber does is generally going to be really great, even if it's as little as like an event that she's throwing at one of these conferences that isn't fully like a four rooms event for 3 days or something like this. I always know that going into that room, I'm going to meet people of value to me, which is really, I guess that's the biggest thing that I'm always looking at when it comes to conferences is what room is going to have the most value. And it doesn't mean it in such a literal way that it has to be attached to money tomorrow or something like that. It really could be. I could go to an event and spend 2 hours talking to someone who's just a killer at the craft that they're doing, and they're able to bring knowledge to me that I didn't know was even out there. That in and of itself can be something game changing. Maybe there's a new angle we can use for something we're doing. Maybe there's a new project or a new market we haven't looked at yet. These kind of things are valued. To me, anything that can drive the business or make me happier, because also me being happy means me doing a better job. So even an hour talking to someone, like someone's plus one who's not in the industry, but it's just a really great conversation for the night, that might reset me in a way that kind of like rejuvenates me for connecting with more people the rest of the evening. So it's really who's going to be at the event, but not in a black and white kind of way, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
no, that absolutely makes sense because it's like this is I know events good for my time because I see the list of names, but then like you said, the diamond in the rough. And usually great people always attract great people. So when you see a name you recognize that's a good vibe, there'll be more people. So we're going to transition to the last segment, which is my favorite segment out of this entire thing, which I call One Hot Minute. Now, one hot minute. What this means is that you're gonna have 60 seconds. We're gonna put on the clock. If I'm looking down, it's my microphone. We're gonna put you on the clock, and you're gonna think about a mantra, a belief, Something that you hold on to that in a tough time you went through, this is that thing that pops up into your mind that like really either calms you down, resets you, and helps you go through so we can share it. Because a lot of our audience, our listeners, whether they're at 7 going to 8, 8 going to 9 and beyond, the huge thing is mindset. It's always identity shifting. So I love sharing these like things from other amazing humans that are like, this really helped me. And here's a mantra I have. And that's why we want to share it. So if you want a second, let me know. If not, we'll put you on the clock.
Yeah, I think we can go.
Okay, ready? Go.
Okay, so for me, one of my biggest mantras, which is something that I've worked on personally, and also professionally, is to really be able to sit with my emotions, meaning that not everything is so black and white as right and wrong. Not everything needs to be something that you take to heart. If I wake up in the morning and I have let's say, a difficult message in my Skype from a partner or someone else, and the first thing I want to do is just punch through a wall, then I take advantage of the fact that we live a digital nomad lifestyle, that there are things that's going to be my opportunity that, you know what, I need to go to the gym this morning. I'm not responding to anyone until after that, clear my brain. It's things like that. It's not being reactive to what's going on and what's out there, because I think we work in a very fast-paced industry and a lot of things shift. And also, deals go bad in a moment. Things change. Someone's really excited today and then not tomorrow. I think the most important thing that you can do is have control over your own emotions. And it keeps relationships going. It's like I mentioned about ghosting. People ghost me all the time. I don't take it personally. Like, I also know people are super busy in the space. And if someone needs something from me, they'll come back. And honestly, the people that don't ghost are the people that get more out of me. So it's just, I don't need to worry too much about that, but I think it's really important to have a hold of your own emotions and know that some of this is business, and not take every little thing as a personal attack, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. That was almost a minute. So well done on that.
Thank you.
So as we last question for you is, would people want to find you and learn more about Kindago, where should they go?
Yes, so you can find Kindago. You see right here with the logo how it's spelled, but it's www.kindago.com. You can see a lot of things on there in terms of our services, testimonials, some case studies, a number of different things. In terms of me, I'm on Instagram, Raanan LR. You can find me on Skype, same Raanan LR, or on Facebook, Raanan Rosenbaum. I'm generally at an event. I'm out there, and you can always email me, Raanan@kindago.com. That's pretty much everywhere where to find me.
Perfect. Or they'll just see you at an event. Like you said, you're everywhere, and I love it.
Yeah, I think it's a good smoke and mirrors act, because I probably do like 12 to 14 shows a year, which sounds like a lot, but I could list at least 10 people off the top of my head in our space who go to double that amount of conferences. I can't understand traveling more than I already do because it's a lot, but there are some real soldiers in our industry who can really do it. I'm not quite there.
Yeah, I last year I did an audit. I traveled 10 out of 12 months, and sometimes it was like 2, 3 times a month. And at the end of the year, I was like, whoa, boy. But it also grew my business. So it's like, you're like, okay. And it's also such a first world problem that,
Exactly. This is like when I go to events and we're going to Nobu 2 nights in a row, and I'm like, oh, why are we going to Nobu? It's like first world problems. Most people would be beyond thrilled to go on a work dinner to Nobu.
not too bad. My friend, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on and talking about networking because you're so good at that. And I know our listeners got a lot of value.
I really appreciate you inviting me to be a part of it, especially knowing how amazing Four Rooms is and everything that Amber and the whole team, yourself included, have done. So just thank you for having me.
You got it. We'll talk to you soon.
As we wrap up today's episode, we have something special just for you. If you've been inspired by what we've explored today and you're ready to take your learning to the next level, then our Four Rooms Mastermind live event is the perfect next step. And because you're a part of our podcast family, we're offering an exclusive 10% discount on your registration when you apply and are accepted. This is your chance. It's your chance to build relationships with other ambitious entrepreneurs like yourself, to dive deeper into the 4 rooms of entrepreneurship, and to connect with experts who can truly help accelerate your growth. Simply follow the event link in the description of this episode and use the promo code 4rooms10. That's FOURROOMS10 on your application to claim this opportunity. This offer is subject to application approval and it's limited, so don't wait too long to make your decision. Join us and transform your journey with the insights and networking that only our live events can offer. Thank you for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you at the event and, of course, right back here next time on the 4 Rooms podcast. Until then, keep balancing and keep growing.